Hello, my name's Andy Barker, and over the next few minutes, I'll be talking to you about the subject of coping in the new normal and supporting the mental health of your team. So, just to introduce myself, as I say, my name's Andy Barker. I'm a coach, I'm a trainer. Um, I used to work in the interactive games industry. It's an industry that I know and love. But now I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, I'm an author, and I run a company called Mind Fitness. And Mind Fitness specializes in mental health and cognitive skills training. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through some ideas, some thoughts that I have around coping in the new normal and supporting mental health. So I've worked from home for a number of years, but before that I was used to working in a very busy, bustling environment in an open plan office for a very large company. So it was quite a culture shock when I left corporate life and started my business and started working in my home office. It came as a bit of a shock. Great at first. I left, I think, in August, but by winter, when it was cold and the days were dark, it got very, very challenging indeed. So I do understand that it's not for everyone working from home. So it just takes time to adjust. You need to make concessions. So I've got a few thoughts around that. I also see quite a lot doing the training I do now online through Zoom, or whatever the other platforms are. It's kind of my window on the world. I see people in their environments, in their home working environments. Some people clearly have adjusted to it, others less so. And obviously, it depends. It depends on you as a person and your personality, the type of environment you're in, whether you've got space, or whether you're pressed together with other people in a kind of house share environment. So a lot of people are spinning plates with commitments from work, home, managing life in from one place can be incredibly challenging and demanding. And of course, now we're getting into winter, the original lockdown. The weather in the UK, at least, was glorious for those of us who were able to get out. It was great. But now, the second lockdown, we've just come through and out the other side of that, but it's still very difficult as the days are drawing in and the days are cold and it can get to us. So, what we need is to increase our overall resilience, be as adaptive as we possibly can, because we are transitioning. There's good news on the horizon. We need to get through this and out the other side. And so, we'll look at some thoughts and some ideas around how we can help ourselves and our colleagues to transition through to the new normal. There's no magic solution. There's no one size fits all, but I'll give you a few ideas of things that I think work for some people, and maybe they could work for you. As I mentioned, I've been working from home for quite some time, and here are a few tips of things that may help you to work at home more comfortably. I found that establishing a routine is really very good. Start times, finish times, setting time for lunch and not skipping it. These are all good things. Routines are really good, similar to maybe the routine that you would be used to in an office environment. So think carefully about how you might do that. Difficult, I know, with work pressures. Um, I tend to get lost in what I'm doing and forget to kind of move around, get some exercise. So I set my alarm on my phone every hour. Just the alarm goes off, and I give myself a moment just have a little wander, maybe make a cup of tea, and stretch my legs. Really important, so good for you. If you're going to take exercise, and you really should be taking exercise, of course, now these days are getting darker. Choose time when it's light. Don't be wandering around in the dark. Schedule your day so that you can take that exercise, whatever it is you like to do, run, walk, or whatever, cycle. Do it during the day. You just get some light on your skin. Include some me time in your day. it's really important that you give yourself a little bit of a treat. I often, when I'm having lunch, just watch a bit of Netflix just to have a bit of a change and give myself a break. Can you swap rooms during the day? Chase the light. If you are fortunate enough to have somewhere where you have rooms to choose from, it's not everybody's choice, I know, or option. But chase the light. Keep yourself working in as lighter environment as you can. Work near a window. As you see, I've got the curtains open, light streaming in, and it's a nice working environment. Working hours, log in times, log out times, again, easier said than done. Times when you do shut the laptop, try and reduce the after hours checking. That always on thing isn't really very good. I know people who have a rule that they don't do any more work after they've had their evening meal, and that works for them. And also think about that work-home transition. Normally you commute, and you have that time to maybe de-stress if you're lucky enough to do a commute that isn't stressful. How do you do that at home? So give yourself some time to transition between your work life and your home life. Just a few thoughts on top tips that certainly helped me. The work that we do at Mind Fitness effectively explores the human condition. How we think affects the way we feel and behave. And one of the aspects that I wanted to look at is the thoughts about compassion, being compassionate to other people, but also being compassionate to ourselves. We can sometimes be our harshest critic. We can talk to ourselves in a way we would never dream of talking to somebody else. So we just need to be aware when we are being very self-condemnatory, when we're being very unkind to ourselves, making demands of ourselves. Acceptance is a huge part of it. This is a tough time, and accepting that it's tough and that it's okay to not feel okay is part of the battle. Look at what's in your control. What can you change? Concentrate on those things that you can change. Whatever isn't in your control, you can't change. So you have to accept that what you can't change, you can't change. Acceptance isn't approval. It just means that we're not sweating the small stuff or even the big stuff about the stuff that we have no control over. The subject of noise, the stuff that goes on in our heads, we have something like 60,000 thoughts a day, and many of those, are very negative. A lot of those are negative. About 5%, scientists think, are spent looking at the task in hand. So we expend a lot of energy in our mental movies, and so we tend to spend time thinking about the past in a very negative way, and that can lead to depression, that rumination, if only I'd done this, or if I hadn't have done that. And then there's the future as well, worrying about the future. And this is particularly evident now because the future is so unknown. But that's the thing, we don't know. We have no idea. So we can't change the past. We can't predict the future. So let's concentrate on what's happening in the here and now. And let's be aware of those mental movies that we play out, those negative mental movies, because they create anxiety and they create problems for us. And there's another thought about awfulizing, how awful things are. We use the term awful a lot for things that aren't awful. Of course, awful things do happen, and we need to be aware of that, but often we apply the term awful to things that are just mildly irritating. So just be aware of when we're talking up the awfulizing. It's also called catastrophizing. And think also about those automatic negative thoughts, the spirals that take us down the road of, if that happens, then I bet that happens, and I bet that happens. We call that the ants, automatic negative thoughts. Just be aware of the way that you're thinking and how that thinking could be tripping you up and could be forcing you to get in your own way. Part of my role within Mind Fitness is being a mental health first aid England instructor. I'm trained and licensed to deliver their training. And it's something I love doing and I'm very passionate about. And so here are a few tips from Mental Health First Aid England and how to look after your own, but also help other people to look after their mental health. So in this new world, this Zoom world, this working from home world, regular catch-ups are very, very good. If you're not having those, it's worth thinking about just convening a team or a few people, and encourage people to form support groups if you haven't already done so. Not maybe work related, but just to catch up. How are we all? It's creating the sort of water cooler moments so that people can interact, those that want to. You can't force people. Encourage one-to-ones. How are you doing? How are you getting on? A time to catch up with people just to see they're okay. Because it's during those occasions when you're talking to somebody that you might be able to spot the signs of stress or distress and that somebody may be struggling. So you're looking for changes within that person, the changes that could indicate they're not in a great place. So, maybe things like then suddenly not attending those virtual meetings, those online meetings. When they do, suddenly is their camera switched off? Why is that? If they used to have the camera on, why now is the camera off? Are they responding to messages? Are they being as responsive and as interactive as they were? Are they unusually communicative in meetings? Do they say less? And that could also be a sign that somebody is struggling. Is somebody being irritable or tetchy? A lot. We all have off days. We can all be tetchy and irritable. And are a person's responses quite emotional? And maybe somebody who isn't normally known for being emotional, or maybe lacking humour when somebody normally is somebody who has a good strong sense of humour. Maybe they're not as humourful, if that's a word. Start conversations, talk to people, ask, are you okay? I've noticed that you don't seem as communicative as normal. Is everything okay? And start the conversation, encourage people to have conversations, and support people to manage stress as best you can. Encourage people to sign up for mental health training. There's plenty available. If you have mental health first aiders in your organization, how can they support people in this new locked down virtual working from home world? And are there ways that within the business you can support those people more to make sure that mental health and well-being is brought to right at the top of the to-do list? So I know that many companies now have plans in place to start to return teams back into the office. And I know some of those plans have been put on hold and just pushed out into next year. And I'm sure those plans are well developed, and I certainly wouldn't presume to offer up any thoughts about that other than some ideas that I've heard that other companies are doing that I've worked with, namely setting up teams of people who are looking at the well-being strategy of the business, so that people within the teams can start to look at how they better support themselves and other people in the new environment. So as people slowly return back into the office, how do the mental health first aiders, if you have them, get involved? How do people support the well-being and the mental health of colleagues? What's the strategy? Start to think about that now and open it up to the business. Get people to put in their ideas and be the authors of that new well-being strategy. There are many ways that we can support ourselves and our colleagues through this transition from working from home, being locked down, being very restricted, to a new world that hopefully next year will mean that those of us that want to return to office spaces can, and those of us who are comfortable working from home can. But the overarching principle is, let's look after the mental health and well-being of everyone in the organization.